So one thing I hear over is that you are very well done with senior leadership, senior management, and it all starts with that. If you don't have their buy-in, well, it's not going to work. So you were successful over there. Let's now transition to developers, if you don't mind. So how are you able to enable them? What do you do for them to do that positiveness in there, and how do you help them? Because again, quite often developers are like, security, negative. So how are you working with developers?
Great question. So you are right. It's not just about the top level. It's also about the bottom level. End of the day, the bottom level contributes to the overall growth of the organization, and they are the actual source of strength, and they are the actual workforce behind any organization.
Absolutely.
So the way we enhance their security adoption at the bottom level is we ensure that developers get adequate training on this subject. That is something that we can't shy away with. That is always a periodic training. I would say it's more of a calendar that we set for them and ensure that the right set of stakeholders are nominated for the training, and they go through a proper classroom training followed by some test models, and there are a lot of interactions around this, and we have created internal sites where people can post queries. It's more of a COE community internally where people can exchange different problem solutions, where it's more transparent in nature. It's not just about finding faults in the system where somebody does the penetration testing and they give a report and say, okay, your system has a bug, you need to fix it, and this is high, this is the CVE score, so and so. So it's not just about that. It's about finding the right solutions that developers can take to ensure that it is mitigated, not just one time, on a continuous basis. So the way it is done is, if there is an issue that is already seen, and if it is there in an underlying platform or it's in the underlying code base, how do we ensure that the same thing doesn't repeat in future? How do we ensure that the knowledge base of the issue and the resolution reaches multiple other communities within the organization? How can we do a cross exchange of ideas with respect to fixing some of those issues? And how do we leverage the industry standards so we don't have to reinvent the wheel? A lot of things are already established, a lot of things are available in the market. WASP has been a very great source of reference for a lot of people in the industry, and we do bank on WASP and other standards. A lot of tools and solutions are available. So we are predominantly adopting and leveraging the existing resources as much as possible, and helping the developers acquire what they need to know, and that is something that we continuously do.
Very nice. So, and absolutely right. So what I hear in your story is that you moved past penetration testing and finding problems. And that is fantastic to hear, because there's a lot of, groups still out there that only do penetration testing, and they know how many problems they have, but they are not fixing it. And that is not helping. That is not helping to the end goal of the business, which is shipping reliable code and making sure that your customers have confidence in using your products. So it's very great to hear that you've moved past penetration testing and that you're in this next cycle of, hey, now we know about the problems, now how can we fix the problems, and how can we do that on a continuous basis? So I really, really like that story. Anything you want to add to that?
No, nothing much. I think the industry is evolving with multiple other formats. The CTF challenge and other things that are there in the industry. A lot of ongoing. I think I heard about Secure Code Warrior as well very recently. I think you are a promising company with a lot of products and solutions. I think that's interesting to know. I didn't know that you are going to be the person to discuss with today.
And thank you very much. So I really appreciate the kind words. Yes, so I think what we're just like yourself, what we're also trying to do is to scale security and make sure we were able to help everybody, every developer in the organization. And I was actually wondering about that in your organization. I know that if you only have 5 people, 5 developers, it's easy. You sit next to them and you help them. But if you have 10 or 100 or 1,000 or maybe even more, that is a very complex problem. Do you mind sharing a few words on how you are able to scale that problem, how you're able to make sure that everybody gets the help they need?
So it all started very passively, I would say. It's all based on the need where we get to interact with different developers. It's not that we sit with them on a daily basis, right? So there is always a trigger behind every interaction with the developer or any other resource in the organization. Neither we afford to have a reasonable amount of time spent with them on an ongoing basis, nor do they, right? So it's about the context with which we get an opportunity to interact, where typically it is around fixing a solution problem or ensuring that their solutions are getting tested. Either it is a static code analysis or a dynamic analysis or an external certification of the product. So various requirements around product security keeps coming, and that's where we have our interactions with different groups and ensure that the right kind of the understanding and the expectation from them have matured over a period of time, in terms of they are now very clear in terms of what they want, what the customer wants, and how we should be approaching towards that. So that's something that we have achieved in the last 1-2 years timeline, in terms of sometimes people will get confused between SAST and RAST. So the customer will ask for a security report. They know whether to give a source code security scan report or it should be a manual penetration test report. So that level of maturity, that's where I said the maturity levels in the organization vary, and it varies within different groups within the organizations also.
Yes,
and that is something that we were able to elevate over a period of time, and a lot of people are now on the same page to set the right kind of expectation. They know how to approach security testing, what are the prerequisites for them to take care of, what is it that they can do themselves to ensure that within the team they have a reasonable assurance for them to say that whatever code that they have developed is reasonably safe and secure. How do they demonstrate back in case there is a ask from the customer or an internal team? So everything is reasonably now process oriented, and the adoption is reasonably going well.
Yeah, and I think people always underestimate the effort it takes to understand all the groups out there, all the technologies out there, all the requirements out there. And essentially what you're talking about is you want to set a baseline across your organization that, hey, you know what, if we do something, this is the bare minimum. We would love you to do more, but this is the bare minimum of what we need to do, and we are going to support you. And it sounds fantastic that you were able to build a team around you that can help you, because it's impossible to do this all by yourself. So it's great to hear that you have a team. Maybe a final question. In your team, like where do you see like, hey, I would love to hire another person in that role or in this role? Like, where do you see that we are essentially moving forward towards? Like, what is the future for you holding? I hear a lot of people about cloud security and investing in cloud security, but it's different organization by organization. What is for you your number one thing where you want to move towards in the next year?
You are right. We are also embarking on the cloud journey. So cloud security is very important for us, because, as I said, we are moving towards hosting some of our solutions on cloud and providing end-to-end services to customers. So it's very important that we have a hold on cloud security front. And of course, the underlying components, so product being our bread and butter, cannot be discounted, right? So it's a holistic view that we are taking to ensure that every element, whatever is appropriate from a solution perspective, is taken care, and we give adequate weightage for them and ensure that that has been taken care of.
Fantastic. Good luck with your search, Lakshmi. And with that, I would actually like to thank you very, very much for this very enjoyable chat that we had today. Really appreciated coming on. So thank you very much, Lakshmi.
Thank you, Matthias. It's good to have you, and nice to have good questions coming from you. You can probably add on some views from your side in terms of what you have seen in a similar company like us, and how their journey is with respect to security, and what are the contributions from a secure code warrior perspective that you have given to this community. And probably I'll go back to the forum and ask them about what's their take on this.
Absolutely. So maybe in one sentence, I can explain that we are very. So what we tend to do well is we help a lot with the remediation and making sure that developers do not introduce. So it is really for companies that have a certain set of maturity, that know that pen testing is not going to solve everything. You still need people to make sure that they know what they're doing if they fix the code. SAST is not going to be the only solution. DAST is not going to be the only solution. Ultimately, it comes down to the people. It comes down to your developers that write code on a day-to-day basis. Help them, make sure they know how to fix problems and make sure they do not introduce the next set of problems. And that is essentially what we're helping companies with. So thank you for the question, Lakshmi.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate the chat. And thank you very much for tuning in.
Thank you, my dear.